Okay, I'm here with David Schoch, and we're going to continue our discussion by talking about StartLabs, which I understand is an incubator in which you had a central role, based in the Western Balkans, obviously, where there's some innovation going on. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about StartLabs and what its history was.
Sure. StartLabs is essentially, it started off with a couple of entrepreneurs that had done really well, investing themselves in a series of applications and technologies. One partner was in San Francisco, a guy from the Western Balkans, had been 25 years in San Francisco and Silicon Valley. The other partner here, they kind of kicked it off and then started building that up. They went out and got a group of mentors. I was invited to become a mentor. And then they transitioned from investing from their own accounts. Basically, they wanted to raise a fund, and that's when I got involved, was trying to help them turn that, what was a couple of guys investing into an actual fund and put some structure around it. They had.
So these were like wealthy individuals,
yeah, I
high
would
net worth
say,
individuals,
yeah,
with a
reasonably.
technology background.
The technology background that had done really well in software, basically, in North American markets, but developing the software here. So they had a lot of experience, and one partner that had a wealth of experience from spending 25 years in Silicon Valley. And they wanted to turn that into a fund, and they also brought a huge amount of knowledge about how early stage investing is being done in San Francisco and in the Valley, and started to bring some of those structures back here. So that was a really interesting opportunity.
And so how many entrepreneurs or startups sort of got involved in this program over the time? And in what areas of
I think there were probably 15 investments in total, and I think they're still looking at some other stuff. It's primarily software, looking at things like SaaS, marketplaces, B2B, but they made investments in a wide range of areas.
So about 15 companies.
Yeah, about 15 investments.
Technology companies. And how successful? What's been the success rate of these companies in terms of their progress?
It's still going. Some have, as you expect in an early stage fund, some have gone down completely. Some have continued to grow and are raising money at in multi-million-dollar valuations, and are still kind of on that path to becoming a real company.
And so if I'm an entrepreneur and I have my software company, what is it that StartLabs brings to me? What's the value added? How do they help me get that sort of acceleration of my growth?
So these guys basically set up a fund with a program, and then with this program they were running each company through an investment readiness program. We were giving them space in our offices. They were there every day. We had a program manager with a huge amount of experience, taking them through step by step, helping them understand, what's understanding their business model. Are they getting product market fit? Really core concepts, and then helping them once they've achieved kind of phase one. Then we invest more money, and then sometimes even bring in another investor, particularly from the Valley. Several companies we actually sent to San Francisco. They spent, a month or two there, gave them introductions. Some of them applied to some of the bigger incubators, like YC. So it was really kind of building this bridge between the Western Balkans and Silicon Valley, and bringing all of that, best practice of what's going on here, and then helping them make that leap into international markets.
So basically it was helping them with mentoring, technical assistance, office space, a place to sort of be connected, and actual capital, and also facilitating third-party capital and back office services.
Exactly. Accounting, we set up a U.S. company for them, helped them get bank accounts. In some cases, we even brought in investors when we saw that they were ready to kind of go into the growth stage and take things to the next level. So there was a huge amount of this package of kind of help and nurturing. That's
interesting. And what about links to other incubators in neighbouring countries? Is there any possible synergies or helping, links with other countries so that you can help the company maybe expand geographically or something like that? Or
sure.
How does that play out?
We did some co-investments with some of the other funds in Bulgaria and other countries. We had several deals where we had people co-investing. We invested and did co-investment with some of the regional funds as well, and also helped them with, in different markets they wanted to enter into. We were helping them, whether it was looking for assistance of how to get into the U.S. and the steps they needed to take, or all the other markets as well. We've given them, the companies that were looking for that expansion, given them a hand in a number of areas.
Oh, that's very interesting. And one thing I can tell you from my work in other geographies like Africa and the Middle East is that that's going on there as well. So what would be your advice to somebody trying to set up an incubator in another country where it's at an earlier stage? What are the main pitfalls to watch out for if you're trying to set up a successful incubator and get that critical mass going? I hope you're enjoying this module. If you are, I'd really appreciate if you could consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks very much.
Early stage investing, in my view, requires an ecosystem. You have to enter into an ecosystem, and it's difficult because most people look at investing as a very competitive business. I'm investing versus somebody else who wants to invest, and it's kind of, people look at it as a wholesome game. My gain is your loss, and vice versa. With early stage investing, I don't see it that way. I think having an ecosystem is really important, and having people that cooperate and collaborate that want to kind of help that rising tide lift all ships. So you've got to be able to set up that type of fund or investment. You need to enter into an ecosystem and get everybody working together.
And would you say in emerging markets, I mean, obviously the Western Balkans to some extent is still in emerging markets, the role of the public sector or the developmental institutions such as, say, the European Investment Bank or the World Bank or EBRD, do they have a useful role to play in supporting incubators in emerging markets?
They should. There's a lot of work. Sometimes these attempts are misguided, but yeah, there is a really important role for whether it's developmental agencies or government groups to come in and take certain risks that commercial institutions don't want to take. But also, I think there's a gap in some of these markets where they're focused on trying to provide some kind of investment capital and becomes really complicated, where what they should be doing is just putting money into the system to different groups that are involved in the ecosystem to help the ecosystem grow. Because if you plow the land, right, and you fertilize it, well, things will grow. And I think there's in some cases too much focus on trying to boil the ocean of setting up a big structure and let's create a fund, or maybe let's create a venture capital law, things that are really grand and look good on paper, but what's really needed is things at street level. Let's look at 20 organizations in the ecosystem that are helping startups, and let's fund 5 of them and make them compete for that money and watch everybody go, work their tails off to get funding to do cool things.
Well, that's a great message for the developmental agencies. So, David, it's been a fascinating conversation. So, thanks for your insights, and see you at the next incubator.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.